Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. Marcus Rashford speaks out about Manchester United's environment and why he was inconsistent. A lot of blame going on here, but where do you lie on this? Is Marcus Rashford right? Is the environment in Manchester United wrong? Or should he have done more himself as a player, as a professional that has come up through the academy? Get your thoughts in. We are going to discuss it. Also, some news about an Adam Wharton bid. Manchester United preparing a bid to get Adam Wharton, and it's quite low for the talent that you're going to bring in. We'll talk about that as well. A little bit on the Mount and Cunha situation, and also some really interesting stats about the impact that Mbeumo has had on Manchester United and why, for me, he's going under the radar as one of the signings of the summer. I mean, a lot of talk this morning about Benjamin Sesko being voted by agents and deal makers as the worst signing of the summer, which I think is just absolutely ridiculous. But there's now been another section of the same article come out about the best signings of the summer window, and I think Mbeumo is someone that isn't being spoken about enough. And when you look at who is on that list, I really do start to question, is it just because of the name of Manchester United? I mean, what is going on? I think you can look at lists, I mean, they're divisive, but we have a community to talk about this sort of thing. And I really do want to sing Mbeumo's praises a little bit and deep dive into them stats that are coming out, because it's about how a player impacts a team, and he is impacting Manchester United in such a positive way. And it's going under the radar. There's so much talk about Sesko, but what about the good things? I mean, Sesko is a good sign as well, I think. I just think, you need something to talk about in the international break, isn't it? But let's get into the start, and that is on Marcus Rashford. I can already see the comments flying in, so get your comments in, because I have a lot to say on this. So I'll read out the quotes first and foremost from Marcus Rashford. He sat down in the England camp and he's been asked a few questions, he's done an interview, and this is what he had to say. So he said this. I'll set the scene here. The question, I watched the interview while it was out on Twitter, and the question he got asked is, Thomas Tuchel says you've got the potential to become a world-class player, but what do you need to do to be world-class? Any guesses? And he was like, no, I don't know. And the interviewer said, consistency. So Marcus Rashford said this about consistency. I feel like I've been in an inconsistent environment for a very, very long time. When people talk about consistency, in order to be consistent in anything, not just sports, you need consistent variables like in your life, the way you train. And I've just had so many changes so far in my career. But like I said, I have to look forward, and that's definitely one of the things that I'd want to put right and improve on, to be at my best more often. Because when I'm at my best, I really enjoy everything about the sport. So yeah, being there is special for me. So he's not directly named Manchester United there, but from watching the interview, you can sort of tell he does take accountability at the end, saying he wants to be more consistent, he knows he needs to be more consistent, and it's something he needs to improve on himself. But before he just spoke about himself and saying he needs to do more, he needs to train better, he needs to work out why he's not consistent enough, he basically takes a little bit of a jab at Manchester United. And he does that by basically insinuating that because Manchester United has had multiple changes of managers, he's had multiple changes behind the scenes, because there's an inconsistent environment behind the scenes at Manchester United, it's been hard for him to be consistent in his career. And I think two things can be right at the same time on this. I think Marcus Rashford's right. There's been a lot of changes behind the scenes at Manchester United, which makes it difficult for players to find consistency and stay on one pathway. There's a new style of play, there's a new manager, there's then new ownership, there's new hierarchy. It has been inconsistent for him and a lot of other players. I believe that has been a cause of instability inside Manchester United and behind the scenes and in the squad. I don't think the culture is right at Manchester United. I still don't think it's right. I think we're on a pathway to get it back right. But I think it's a big reason why players leave Manchester United and do well. Because I think at Manchester United, players have been allowed to get away with things for a far too long time. I don't think it's a winning environment. I don't think it's a winning culture. And I think egos have been allowed to get big there. And, there's one rule for one rule for another. And I don't think there is that strict professional, we are athletes that are going to do everything we can to reach the top level. I don't think that the culture and the environment behind the scenes at Manchester United has been right. So from that aspect, I agree with Marcus Rashford, and that can contribute to instability and you not being able to be at your absolute best. However, as a footballer, you have to take accountability. It wasn't Manchester United that was out every weekend, out clubbing in Manchester, out in Belfast, turning up late to training. That wasn't Manchester United. I blame Manchester United for allowing Rashford to get away with them things, because there should have been way stricter rules in place where if you're doing stuff like that, you have to apologise to the fans. You are not playing the next 3 games, even if you are natural ability-wise the best player in the squad. There are strict rules and you cannot behave like this and get away with it. With Marcus Rashford, he was given a 350 grand a week contract, around that number, and allowed to behave in a way that top professionals don't behave in. And I get you always get them people that says footballers have to be able to have a life. Just because he's out at a club doesn't mean he's drinking. You can have your interpretations of what you think, but Marcus Rashford was out a lot when he was in Manchester. Before games, after games, he was out in Belfast, he was drinking. And he shouldn't have been doing that at that point in his career, especially where Manchester United were at that time. And you shouldn't be doing it anyway. Manchester United, behind the scenes, hasn't tailor-made the right environment for professional athletes to thrive, and it has allowed unprofessional behaviour to roam there and take over. However, I still think top professionals take accountability and hold their hands up and say, look, doesn't matter what happened behind the scenes at Manchester United. Yes, there's been instability. Yes, there's been new ownership that's caused instability. There's been a lot of changes in managers, some that suit my game, some that don't. But you don't blame any of that. You look in the mirror and you look at yourself and you say, am I doing the best I can as a professional athlete to perform? Am I putting it in, week out, in training, on the pitch? Have I got the best possible physical and mental condition that I can possibly have to perform at the top level? And I think if Marcus Rashford really sat down with himself and looked back on his final years at Manchester United, would he be able to say that he put everything in to his training? Probably not. Would he be able to say he put everything in off the pitch to be the best possible version of himself? Probably not. Would he be able to say that on the pitch he covered every blade of grass and give his all every single week? Probably not. And that's where you have to take some sort of accountability. There's no doubts in my mind that Marcus Rashford has world-class capabilities. On his day, he's brilliant, and I'm so happy for him that he's doing well at Barcelona. But there's a difference between Barcelona and Manchester United. At Barcelona, you're going into a team with world-class players that are performing at a really high level. There's clearly no tolerance for any sort of mishaps behind the scenes. So you've got to up your game. You've got to always be on it. You've always got to be trying at your best, or else you will fall behind, and you will fall behind the pack and you won't play. He's not got, I'm an academy graduate to fall back on at Barcelona. He's surrounded by world-class players. He's got to be at his best. He's got to be training at his best. Plus, it's a fresh start and you want to prove everyone right. And I'm so happy for him that he's doing well, because I think his ability translates to, it would be unfortunate if he didn't do well. However, at Manchester United, there was points towards the end where he was walking on the pitch and his body language looked like he wasn't interested. He was, he did go to Belfast and miss training because he was out. Like, them sort of things just would not fly at Barcelona at all. But he got away with it in Manchester United because the culture behind the scenes allowed that to happen, and he got too comfortable. He was, on paper, one of the best players. He got picked no matter what. He was Marcus Rashford, the big name, the big brand, the highest paid player on a big contract that United couldn't really, they had no manoeuvring capabilities. They had no power to kind of lay down the law with him, and he did get comfortable in that aspect. So to just blame Manchester United for the inconsistencies, and I'm not saying he's directly done that, you've got to read between the lines, it is insinuating, and he does take accountability and says it's something that he needs to work on. But to kind of say, oh, I've been inconsistent in my career because I've been in an inconsistent environment, that's not the only thing that you can blame. You've got to look at yourself. And there was points at Manchester United where Marcus Rashford did play through injury, just to be available and play football for us under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer days. He played through a shoulder injury. You know, he turned up in big moments for Man United with some really good memories. A Carabao Cup, you know, FA Cup, big games against Liverpool, against the top six. He can turn up when he wants to. But for Man United fans, you look at it and you think, so you are capable of playing through a brick wall for us. You are capable of turning up in big moments against world-class opposition, PSG. But then you don't want to do it week in, week out. And that was always the issue with United fans. But with me anyway, I know Marcus Rashford's got ability. I know how good he can be. I loved him from when he come through the academy. He was one of my favourite United players ever. And that's why I think that relationship with the fans, for me anyway, it was really hard because you were trying to defend him, but you were watching it with your own eyes. So you can turn up against City when everyone's on your back, but then week in, week out at Old Trafford, you're walking around the pitch. That's where the relationship started to break down a little bit. So to blame Manchester United purely for your inconsistencies, I don't accept that. I don't accept that. You also contributed, and I would have liked Marcus Rashford to come out and say, look, didn't work out with Manchester United. I do think they need more stability behind the scenes based on the time that I've been there. And I would appreciate him for speaking out about that. I think behind the scenes, they need more stability. Like when he said in that interview, when he first left, that they need to stick with a manager. Even though him and Amorim haven't worked out and their relationship broke down, he said they need to stick with a project. He's been there, he's done that. That is an absolutely fine and honest thing to say. But I would have respected it so much more if he said, but I've made mistakes in my career. I've not always done the right things when I should have, and that's something I'm trying to change. And I'm trying to make the best out of my ability now by being the best version of myself every single day. And, you know, an apology after Belfast would have been nice, but I don't want to go back to that place. But that would have kind of sat a little bit better. It's not the end of the world. It's just an interview, and I'm glad he's doing well. I don't want to go back in time, but that was just my thoughts on it, and I'm just wondering what you guys think, really. Dominica says, a bad workman blames his tools. That's the thing. I would never expect it from, you know, a Bruno Fernandes would never come out and say that, even though he's had to deal with inconsistencies behind the scenes. He would never blame the environment for his performances. I don't think a player like Ronaldo, well, Ronaldo has kind of done that, but he's not. He would always take ability in himself. It's just not top class athletes, in my opinion, will always look at themselves first and try and do the best themselves, and that's kind of my thoughts on that. And also, I just wanted to bring this in because I seen this quote floating about kind of after the Marcus Rashford comments have just broke and come out, and this quote was circulating on the timeline, and it was a quote from Gary Neville a couple of weeks ago. It was when Amorim basically said that the criticism of the media is getting to his players, and they read it and they believe it, and the outside noise gets to his players. And Gary Neville said this: I played in a dressing room that when you lost, there was accountability. Why would you blame other people when you're losing matches? That's a pretty big problem itself. I've not got any time for it. Excuse mentality, shortcuts, blaming other people. It's the worst thing that you can do in life. And I don't agree with everything that Gary Neville says, but I agree with that. Excuse mentality, I don't have any time for it. And I think when you're trying to compete at the top level, you just cannot have that creep into your mind whatsoever. And when Marcus Rashford started talking about the inconsistent environment, it was like he was trying to make excuses for why he's not been consistent, instead of just taking it on the chin and being like, yeah, I need to be more consistent. It's something I've not been able to do in my career and I need to work on it. That excuse mentality, anytime I see a glimpse of it with the Manchester United squad, I don't like it. I really don't, because you've got to just take full accountability for yourself. That's what winners do. That is what winners do. Although, you know, for example, one of the best players that I've ever seen play the game, in my opinion, is probably the best player I've ever seen in my lifetime, Cristiano Ronaldo. He had stuff to say about the way Manchester United is run behind the scenes, And we all applauded him for saying that publicly, because us who love Man United, just like the way Ronaldo loves Man United, knew that there was problems behind the scenes, but it took a figure like Ronaldo to come out and say that for people to start to take notice. So he's criticised the club. However, he's never blamed the club for his own performances. And he could never do that. In one of Manchester United's worst ever teams, he was scoring 20 goals in a season. His performances week in, week out, despite his issues, were just always top level. He'd always give absolutely everything, no matter what was going on behind the scenes. The fact that Erik ten Hag started Christian Eriksen as a false nine ahead of him, one of the best players in the world, in Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay, yeah, there was issues behind the scenes, but every time he stepped out onto that pitch, it was everything. He's still the first one into training every week. We heard it at the time. Still the last one to leave. And that's why he is where he is. They're the kind of, I mean, not everyone's Cristiano Ronaldo mentality. His mentality is just off the charts. And that's why he's probably my favourite ever athlete, genuinely. But you've got to have that mentality running through your squad. And I just don't buy into this excuse mentality just the same way that Gary Neville spoke about there. And he's been in a dressing room where you cannot have excuses, and he's in a dressing room where you have to win every single week. He's been at Manchester United where you are winning week in, week out, so he knows what it takes. That's, that sort of excuse mentality is why Manchester United hasn't been at the top for a long time. It's one of the contributing reasons. Let me just, 1 second, I'm just going to quickly get the YouTube chat up here because I want to get your guys' opinions in, but my comment section on my laptop isn't working, so bear with everyone while I just get it up on here. Hopefully it'll come up. Let me have a look. So Daniel McCarthy has got a super chat in, and he has said, nonsense from him. Bruno was part of all those changes. Bruno still puts a shift in, albeit he gives the ball away, but he's still giving his all. And this is a very divisive super chat because I know a lot of people in the community, and I can see already here a couple people bringing in when Bruno spoke about Yoro in his interview and how he was kind of blame shifting them. So you can't say he's also not blame shifting. And it's a very divisive super chat from Daniel McCarthy because I know a lot of people in the community were really frustrated with Bruno when he did name Yoro in the interview post the derby. And I get where them people are coming from, but I think Daniel McCarthy speaks a lot of sense here in the fact that, okay, sometimes you can question maybe what Bruno said in a post-match interview. However, when he steps onto the pitch, every single week, he covers every blade of grass. He gives absolutely everything. You might not like the way that Bruno speaks to the ref. You might not like the way that Bruno's always telling his teammates what to do. Sometimes he's too busy talking that he's missing what's going on in the game. I've noticed that. He's always directing the play, dictating the play, telling people what to do. And some people get a little bit frustrated with his petulance sometimes. I'm going to be honest. I love Bruno and the way he acts on the pitch. I get it, it's Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. I like someone who shows that they care. I like a bit of aggression. I like someone telling the team that they need to step up. Albeit he needs to listen to his own advice because sometimes he's not dropping the best performance and you think, you're telling all these other people what to do, but you need to step up your game. I get that. But I like that attitude. You want to do everything you can on the pitch to win, and you will tell people, and you will sometimes, pull the wool over the referee's eyes a little bit. He knows what he's doing, but he's a winner. And I respect that. But what Bruno Fernandes does every single week, and I've never ever watched a game where he's not done this. Bear in mind, I think he's been injured, twice in his Manchester United career. He's barely missed a game. The only time he's ever missed is because he's been suspended, and that's been rare in itself. But I've never ever watched a game of football where I've walked away and thought Bruno Fernandes hasn't give every single inch of himself that game. He gives everything, week in, week out. You might not like the way he plays. You might not like the petulance. You might not like, certain things about his game. But the one thing you can never say about Bruno is that he's walked or he's not give everything. Whereas with other players, at some points, over the years, you look and you think they've given up a little bit. They've not give everything to go and chase down that ball. They've not give everything to go and track back. And that's just something I think is unforgivable when you're wearing the shirt of Manchester United. Or if you do decide to forgive it, a player's got to really win you back over. So yeah, that's my kind of take on the Bruno situation. I did think when he spoke about Euro, it was slightly out of character based off what we've seen from him as a captain over the years. I know for a fact that, well, unless people are lying, everyone in Manchester United and in that dressing room loves Bruno Fernandes. They love him. They absolutely love him. He helps the youngsters. He's so kind. He'll do anything for anyone. Behind the scenes, he's so loved by his squad and his teammates. I mean, did anyone see the video that got put together when he scored his 100 goals for him? The Euro thing was a little bit out of character. I look at it, and you might be saying that I'm making excuses for him. I look at it that he was trying to explain the situation to the interviewer, and I think he was probably fed up of people saying he doesn't work in the midfield without actually understanding that the centre-backs are supposed to push into the midfield, and he's kind of caught in the middle. He got that section of the game wrong. I've watched it back. Personally, from what I can see, unless it's explained to me again, it wasn't Euro's fault. I think Bruno got confused, and I don't think he should have mentioned it in his interview. As a big Bruno fan, I don't think he should have, but I don't think he was doing it deliberately to throw Euro under the bus. I think he was kind of using the example of that centre-backs need to push into the midfield. However, yeah, it's an interesting one. We'll see how it progresses, but I don't think you can compare Rashford's attitude with Bruno's attitude. I think they're on different planets, if I'm being honest with you. Anyway, that is the Rashford thing. Went on for quite a while, but thank you everyone for your comments. You've got a lot of people coming into the comment section here with some divisive views on Bruno. I mean, I don't think Bruno has ever given up, but some people think differently. Ultrac says Bruno is the best. He's just played in a totally wrong position. You can't put a goalkeeper and play them as a forward. That's just facts. Ian says Rashford is one of the many reasons United have had a high turnover of managers. The amount of times that he has downed tools. I mean, that's a really interesting kind of comment there. So Rashford speaking about the inconsistency of not having a stability with the managers yet. He's had poor form under each manager. He's had good form and poor form under each manager at different times. I mean, the Ten Hag thing, he had the best form of his career under Ten Hag, and then they had a little bit of a falling out behind the scenes, I think, and it kind of all just kind of fell apart. So yeah, I mean, we'll never know 100% what fully went on, but accountability is much needed in that dressing room, and it's not just Rashford, it's other players as well. And that's where, although Amorim has his faults, Amorim absolutely has his faults, and he's got things he needs to prove, I do think he's a good judge of character, and we're actually starting to get the right characters in the dressing room that will stand up and take full accountability. And that's kind of one of the positives that's come with Amorim that needs to start translating onto the pitch. But let's talk about this Adam Wharton bid as well. So this came out from the Daily Star. So, I mean, I would say take it as a pinch of salt, but I actually do think there's some truth in this. And I'll explain why. So, Ruben Amorim is expected to change his engine room options next summer, with Casemiro and Mainoo potentially heading for an exit. The Daily Star has reported that a £60 million offer for Wharton is on the cards after Amorim took a liking to the England international. So, yes, okay, it's coming in from the Daily Star, I get that. But this is why I do think there's something to it. The Baleba rumours have massively died down, and I would say that it is going to be a risk to go for Baleba after the start of the season he's had. Still think he's a top player. I just worry about if the weight of playing for Manchester United would affect him, based off the fact that he's been affected at the start of the season by not getting his move in the summer. Adam Wharton, and on plus, Brighton are going to want over 100 million for Baleba. They will want over 100 million for Baleba, and Brighton usually get what they want. They are such hard negotiators. Adam Wharton had a fantastic start to the season with Palace, proven to work in the system that Amorim plays, that two-man midfield, albeit in Glasner's formation, the shape that they're in and out of position is slightly different, and you do have a lot more cover with the way that they set up, but still proven to work in that sort of formation. Proven for quite a long time now in a team that is really performing at a really high level. And apparently, and this is from when we had Ben Jacobs on the show, has a sort of gentleman's agreement with Crystal Palace that at the end of this season, he can go for around £60 million. Adam Wharton, for me, is probably, in this day and age, in this market, at his age, I think he's 22, he's probably around an £80 million player. But he's got a gentleman's agreement, just like Victor Gyökeres had with Sporting, that he can go for around 60 million. So if Manchester United catch wind, which people talk in the industry, especially if Adam Wharton's wanting to move on to a Big Six club, Palace are doing better than Man United currently, but, you know, a Big Six club, if he wants to move on to that, and if Manchester United show interest and that's something that he would want, things get spoken about, it comes out. Ben Jacobs said it on the show. That gentleman's agreement of £60 million could really lure Manchester United in, because they could have been dropping over 100 million on Baleba, but if they can get Adam Wharton, okay, a slightly different type of midfielder in the same position but plays the game a little bit differently. If they can get Adam Wharton in, Amorim wants him, it can work. For £60 million, you're probably getting him for 20 million under his market value. And I never think you should buy a player just because they are English, but that is probably something that would attract the Ineos regime. The fact that he does fit that homegrown English quota that you do have to abide by. So it's something to really think about, that Adam Wharton for 60 million could be on the cards. You're going to have competition. For that price, you will have competition, especially if he continues playing at the level that he is. But I look at it and I think Arsenal aren't going to go there because their midfield's already pretty stacked. Liverpool have been rumoured to go in. Liverpool could be there, which, who knows which way Liverpool's season's going to go. I mean, it's only been 3 dodgy games, but I even think from the start of the season they've not looked anywhere near where they were last season. They were lucky to get quite a few of the points they got on the board before they started tripping up recently. Although they've got such a good team, I still think they'll be up there for winning the Premier League. So they're big competitors for Wharton's signature. Man City could also go in for him. I really do see him as a Pep Guardiola type player that you'd be interested in. So I do think there'll be competition for Adam Wharton throughout the Premier League. So it'll be interesting to see if that if that gentleman's agreement does come into fruition. But that is the word on the street. It's been reported that United might launch a £60 million bid. Then it also comes in from Ben Jacobs that there's a gentleman's agreement to let him go for 60 million. Crystal Palace, although, you know, they are a really exciting side that I think has so much potential right now and are playing really good football, doing really well, they will sell. It's not as if they're not a selling club. Eze, once they got the right pricing for him, if the player wants to go, they will sell. They're not as hard as Brighton when it comes to negotiations. Eze, I thought, went for a good, reasonable price. They got the money in that he was worth. They let him go. They won't let everyone go in all in one summer. Mark Gahey will be leaving as well on a free transfer, and you've got to bring that into your mind. But if they've had that conversation with Adam Wharton, just give us one more season, and then if the right price comes in, we'll let you go. Adam Wharton will be on the market next summer, and I expect Manchester United to be first in line because he's such a quality midfielder. Let me just run a poll quickly. The last 5 minutes of the show. Wharton, Baleba, Anderson. I know we ideally want 2, but if you could only pick 1 to sign for United, who would you go for? Because I'll add Stiller into that, actually. Wharton, Baleba, Anderson and Stiller. They're the 4 midfielders that Manchester United have been linked to the most. I expect us to buy 2 of them, just so you know. So I'll look at who are the top 2 on that poll. I would expect us next summer, considering our midfield situation, Casemiro's leaving, Mainoo's not being used, Ugate's not proved he's good enough. Who knows if Bruno will go to Saudi. I expect us to sign 2 of them midfielders, but I'd like to know who you would go for. While I'm talking about that, I quickly want to bring in this. This show is absolutely flown by. Thank you everyone for joining us. Really do appreciate it. Smash a like on the video if you've not already. So, goal we spoke about this morning, so I'm not going to go too much into detail, about the Athletic article that named Sesko as the worst signing. I just think that's completely ridiculous. I don't agree with it. Golby just had his say on it and I won't go into detail. But this came out a little bit later and it was, we asked 20 agents to name the deal they thought was the best of the transfer window. So up there with 5 votes was Donnarumma. I think that's fair. Donnarumma has been a fantastic signing for Man City, and when whereas Man City look shaky, they now look elite. You know, it's amazing what a good spine does for you. You've got Donnarumma and you've got Haaland, world-class goalkeeper, world-class centre-forward, both arguably the best in the world in their positions. And then the midfield and the centre-back situation isn't bad either. You know, Rodri, okay, yeah, I know he's not got off the races yet. You know, suffered a little bit of injury, but Ballon d'Or winner. Ruben Diaz, we know how good of a centre-back he is. Reinders has been a good signing. Like, their spine is excellent now, which really does help you. So I get why that's up there. Jack Grealish, 4 votes. Completely understand that as well. I think Jack Grealish has been a transformative signing for Everton, and it's really great to see such a talented player actually being able to flourish and have that freedom. And he's been a joy to watch Jack Grealish at Everton. Then it's Victor Gyökeres with 2 votes, and then there's a lot with 1 vote. Alexander Isak has a vote. João Pedro's got a vote. Eze's got a vote. Harvey Elliott's got a vote. Zubimendi's got a vote, and Bryan Mbeumo has 1 vote as well. So what I'm trying to say on this is I'm not disrespecting the fact that Donnarumma and Jack Grealish have been 2 of the best signings of the summer, because I think they have. Victor Gyökeres with 2 being the 3rd best is slightly questionable, but I think he's been a decent signing. But Alexander Isak, you know, having the same amount of votes as Bryan Mbeumo, to me, it just blows my mind. It really does. And I wanted to talk about this because I think Bryan Mbeumo has gone under the radar as one of the signings of the summer. I really do. And the reason I think he's gone under the radar as one of the signings of the summer is because Manchester United haven't been able to convert the chances that they're creating, and we've not got as many points on the board as that we should have done. However, when I think about a transfer, and if it's been a good transfer or a bad transfer, I think about the impact, how much of an impact and how much of a positive impact has a player had on the team. How much have they genuinely improved a team that they are signing for? And for me, his influence going forward for us has been huge. A lot of people are talking about how, okay, the points aren't there, but our attacking stats are better. And some people believe in stats, some people don't. But when Mbeumo's in that final third for us, it's making so much difference. We need to be more clinical, of course we do. But he's a big reason why Benjamin Sesko has 2 goals in 2 games. He's a big reason why our XG is one of the highest in the league. He's one of the reasons why we are creating more than that we were last season. We need to get our shooting boots on, we need to convert, and the rest of the team need to get on his level. But he's been a breath of fresh air. If you compare Mbeumo to the likes of Garnacho last season, it is just night and day. I mean, you look at his intelligence of being able to know when to cross or when to shoot. I mean, he put it on a plate for Ahmad a couple of weeks ago. His crossing to Mount in the Sunderland game. His ability to give you an outlet and stretch defences and be the last man going in behind. Again, great flick on from Benjamin Sesko, but he's the guy that's always running in behind. The reason that Sanchez got sent off. His crossing is great. His connection with Ahmad is starting to build and getting Ahmad in good positions. I just think he, in the attack, has been our best attacker. He's looked like the most promising attacker since the start of the season. And I think he's got everything to his game. Intelligence, passing, shooting, set pieces, chemistry, everything. Being able to be that outlet to stretch the defence, which I'm repeating myself now because I think he's so good. And I think he's had such a positive impact on a forward line that really was woeful for Manchester United last season, and hasn't started in the best way, but it really just does look more positive. It looks more likely to score goals. And, you know, when you've got Mbeumo in there, you've got Sesko in there, you've got Cunha in there, you've got Mount in there, you've got Bruno, even though he should be playing closer to goal, you're going to have threats. And for me, Mbeumo's currently the best of the lot. So I do think he has gone under the radar in terms of the impact he's been able to have on Manchester United. And just in terms of the stats that I wanted to bring in on the back of that, let me just get it up quickly because it's gone off my screen, which is fun. Using a different laptop today, guys, so bear with us. Here we go. Oh, okay, so there's been a little bit of breaking news on Lisandro Martinez as well. I'll bring that in. So Manchester United, on paper, have had the best attack in the Premier League this season with a 15.72 XG created. This is ahead of Arsenal with 13.75 and Chelsea with 12.94. Now, we have had 2 missed penalties. That contributes to XG. There's a moment against Brentford where Sesko has 3 shots before it goes in. That contributes towards XG. But again, like I said, Mbeumo is a big reason why that's happening. He's so good in that final third, and we just need to start delivering. He does as well on being a little bit more clinical. So yeah, I think for me, he's going under the radar as one of the signings of the summer, but let me know what you guys think. Peter Winter says Sesko has been a better signing than Isak. Rob Zombie says Wharton and Anderson would be a good balance of ball winning, carrying and passing range. Yeah, I really like that combination as well, which you speak about there. Wharton and Anderson, says Kamara. A lot of people like the idea of Wharton and Anderson. Well, this is where we're at. He's so close in the poll. So who would you sign for Manchester United midfield-wise? Like I said, I would sign 2 out of these 4. This is how your votes are lining up. So 48% of you say Adam Wharton. He's winning the vote. 22% of you say Baleba. 21% say Anderson. And 9% say Stiller. I really, really like Anderson. Really like Anderson. I think he's had a cracking season for Forest so far. I think he's been really good for England when he's played. But I'm going to be honest, if money wasn't an object, for me, it would be Wharton and Baleba. That's who it would be, because I just see a potential in Baleba that I think he can really go off the charts. I really do. He's not had a good start to the season, but what I saw last year from him, I just think the potential is off the scale. Wharton, I think, is the best currently out of the lot. In terms of potential, what he can currently do is in-game intelligence, knowing where to be at the right time, his technical ability, the way he reads the game. But I really also like Anderson. Stiller I've not seen as much of, so I can't fully comment. He might end up being world class, I don't know. But that's what Bundesliga watch-alongs are for on Fridays, to go and look at them players in the Bundesliga that keep coming across to the Premier League. So mine would be, if money was no object, Baleba and Wharton. However, money is going to be an object for United, and depending on how Baleba does this season, it's going to be interesting to see how much Brighton demand for him. But Wharton being available for around 60 million, if that does happen, would be a massive help in terms of getting that other top-class midfielder in as well for a big shake-up in the midfield. But look, everyone, that is the show. Last bit, I think there was a little bit of breaking news coming in surrounding Lisandro Martinez. Let me see if I can get that here. There's also been some Matheus Cunha quotes, so it's all popping off. So this is the stuff coming out around Lisandro Martinez quickly. So this is from the Mail, and it is: Lisandro Martinez will step back up to first team training this week. He's eyeing the fixtures with Brighton and Nottingham Forest as targets for his return. So Lisandro Martinez back in first team training this week. This is brilliant news. I really think we've missed him massively. I can't wait to see him back on the pitch. I just hope he lasts. That's all I can say. I'm not going to get too carried away. I don't know if any of you saw my show, but it's like having the Lamborghini in the garage and not being able to get it off the drive. It's great to have it, but I want to be able to drive you. I want to be able to show you off. I want to be able to pick up my kids from school in the Lambo. I want to be able to get out the garage. Do you know what I'm saying? So as much as I love Lisandro Martinez and I think we absolutely need him, I won't get too carried away until he's back. But that's good news. It's good news. And if he can stay fit, it's a big addition for United. He gets into our best 11, in my opinion. So it's good to have him back. And I think I saw something a bit earlier as well, that he's hoping to at least be back before the November fixtures. So let's hope that stays on track and he can stay fit. My target is for him to stay fit for the season. That's where I think we need to be at with Lisandro Martinez. So let's see. And then regarding Matheus Cunha, let me see. Okay, so this is coming out from Fabrizio Romano from Globo. Matheus Cunha, on his impact at Manchester United, he said, "It's only been 2 months, but it feels like I've been here for a long time because of the club's current situation. I have to get results as quickly as possible because I'm a big signing." Basically saying that, you know, he's been here for a short time, bear with him, but because the club's got so much pressure, you have to deliver week in, week out, which is, you know, that's part and parcel of playing for United. Like, that's just what it is. He's got the number 10 shirt. People are going to want a lot from you. And I don't think anyone's really got on Cunha's back. Mount's just played really well. And he had a little bit of an injury that set him back. But he's absolutely, you know, got quality. We can all see that. He also said, "Being here now at Manchester United and in the national team is without a doubt a different level, a different moment as a player. I think because I play for Manchester United and people watch me more on the field, they will understand how I play better." So basically just hinting at the fact that playing for Manchester United aids him with his ambitions to play for the Brazilian national team. I like it. It's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a good thing to have them ambitions as a player to play at the top level and deliver at the top level. But look, everyone, that is the show. Smash a big like on the video if you have not already. And remember as well, it's the start of a big week. We are back. Football is going to be back. I cannot wait. Big game at Anfield on Sunday, which I don't know what it is. Might be because I've not seen United in a while, but I have a sneaky feeling that we could get something. Don't even ask why. I can't help myself. But before that, we've got so much coming this week. We've got Chris Wheeler for an exclusive interview tomorrow. He's come out with some cracking bits of news recently and some big scoops and exclusives as well. So I'm excited to have him. 2 p.m. tomorrow in the United Stand studio, Chris Wheeler on the show. Ben Jacobs back on Thursday as well. We know how much of a good show he is. Ben Jacobs on the show Thursday 2 p.m. And Mark is back at 8 p.m. tonight with the evening show with hopefully some positive news for us all. And just as football returns, with United going to Anfield on Sunday, Bundesliga returns Friday night, live watch-along, live match footage, live goal-bridge reaction. You've got to be there on That's Football. So thank you, everyone, for a great show to start the week off and some good Man United debate and conversation. I love it. Let me just check there's been no more comments that I've missed before I go. Let me just double check here. I don't think there has, but let me check, because this community, we're all about making sure that everyone has their say. No, I got them all. Thank you very much. So thanks everyone for watching. Stay tuned for everything that's to come, and we will see you on the next one.